Yeah, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Filmspiration, the place where filmmakers come to get inspired. My name is writer-director Edgar Ibarra. Let's get down to business.
Hey, Ann, how are you?
Oh my gosh, what's happening? Oh,
Uh, there you go.
wait,
How
this
are you?
light is really bright. I'm doing well. There,
There
can
you
you
go.
hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
hear you and I can see you. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. That was like a challenge trying to get hooked up there.
So, Ann, if you can explain to us a little bit about, who you are, what you do for those of us who, don't have a full background on who you are, because I know that you're a woman of many, many, many talents, and you've been
Oh,
doing
that's nice.
the indie film hustle for quite some time now. Give me one moment because my mother-in-law's dogs are going crazy. Okay, let me
Okay.
just
All
close the
right.
door. Okay,
No
but yeah,
problem.
and if you want to start telling the audience, like a little bit more of your background and whatnot. So I'll be right
Okay.
back.
Okay, come back. Weird, because it's weird to talk to the audience. Hello, audience. My name is Ann Cabano, and I have been doing the indie hustle. I like that, the indie hustle. Yeah, I'm a filmmaker. Everything that I do has a social awareness aspect to it, and so the narratives and documentaries, both that I'm working on, both have social aspects to them. It's really about bringing
Yeah.
awareness to the tough things. I hear those dogs.
Yeah, they're still in the background, and that's what the door closed, and that's why I keep on wondering, like, if the door's going to pop open.
They're
And
gonna
so, so,
bust in.
so, talk to me about the social awareness films. Obviously, there are a lot of documentarians out there that are taking up the torch of certain topics and issues. So, in your case, where does that part, where does that come from within you to the need to tell the stories that you do?
Oh my goodness. Well, what a great question. Um, I think that the impetus behind everything I do directly comes from my family. I have a family that has a history of addiction and homelessness. And, so as a result, I've always been very compassionate individual wanting to, sometimes you can't help people,
Yeah.
but you can help other people who are ready to be helped. And, part of that journey is really like, why do some people become addicts and why do some people don't? Or why do some people find themselves houseless and why do some people don't? And why do some people feel like they're homeless and they have a mansion? It goes a little bit deeper than that. And so people are my passion, really. I'm fascinated, absolutely fascinated. It keeps me up at night, thinking about why people make the decisions they do and why people, respond the way they do and why some people respond this way. And yeah, so yeah, that hopefully answers your question. That's
It,
my
it
fire.
It does big time because a lot of times in the independent film hustle, the authenticity that comes through our work is seen and pointed out by people, and so then people will ask, like, where did that idea for that movie come from? And it's usually, and it doesn't surprise me anymore when a filmmaker says, it's a very personal thing, and I know it's very cliche, but at the same time, if it comes from somewhere very real and very personal, but somewhere very real within,
Mm-hmm.
then it's going to be something that Hollywood can produce, even if it's just with very little money. No matter how much money they throw into it, it will never be as authentic as it is because it comes from, the filmmaker or somebody close to the filmmaker. That's my 2 cents on the matter. And so, when you're able to tap into and harness the authenticity, to bring a message or bring a message of awareness to a topic or whatnot, I always dig that. And so I always like to poke around into other filmmakers' minds to, with regards to that, because so much of us as just, is that me? I think that might be me.
Maybe it's me.
Um,
I was shaking my head
or,
vigorously. Sorry.
or it's okay. I just kind of always wonder if it's my microphone rubbing up against my collar right here. Um,
Let's do this.
I think, the whole topic of the authenticity, and a lot of times we become artists because we go through certain things. And so I think the transference of the topics and the issues is a very It's a very interesting, very fascinating topic to me, because then you're what I would call channeling, if it's pain, anger, frustration, or experiences into your work for good. And so you're turning, maybe something that was negative into a positive. Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, or painful things. I mean, I feel so. This is how I refer to it. I feel like we all have a medicine, and that medicine is what that's what our purpose is in life. And I have a background of being a holistic educator. I was a instructor at a college here in Tempe for about 12 years, and that really is about a journey into finding self-awareness. But filmmaking is no different, especially documentary filmmaking. You're kind of going on a journey, and sort of, to me, excavating motivation behind, why the same ingredients can look different from person to person. And for me, my medicine, if you will, is that exploration. I don't know. I am so fascinated by we humans are so interesting, aren't
And you know
we?
what? Taking a look at us human beings and what we go through the medium of film is a very interesting way to do that. And so let's go ahead and jump right into the two items that we had previously talked about on the phone before we went live right now. There's the box, and then there's Stronger by This, right?
Stronger with
So,
us, yeah.
so go ahead and talk to me about, no particular order. You have the floor.
Uh-oh. Thanks for the floor. Yeah, I feel really blessed because I feel like a constant student. So I feel like I'm always learning and pushing myself to be a better filmmaker and a better filmmaker until I can get to the point where I actually can say, yeah, I'm a filmmaker. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, uh, so last year I had a young woman come to me that was 14 years old. Her and her mom came to me and asked if I would direct this story that Faith, is her name, Faith Payne, had written. And so I looked at this story, and in essence, it's based on her real life. Like, it's her real experience. And so she was bravely coming forward and being an advocate for this topic, and and what the topic is about suicide awareness. And I loved that for so many reasons. I mean, here's this, young girl that's a writer and an advocate, and those are things that I am. And of course, I said yes, that I would do it. And so I ended up creating it's about 12 minutes long. And I kept encouraging her to expand her story a little bit, because what the story is something I think we've all done. Um, Taking a shower, listening to music, right? That's something we all do. And music is it takes us on such a journey, right? It takes us on a journey. It can help us heal. It can help us, emote. We can go high, we can go low, we can daydream, we can get grounded. Music is really such a healing thing. And so she was taking a shower listening to this music, and as each song came on, she had flashbacks about different times in her life, good things, painful things, things that she overcame, things that she changed, decisions she made. And so that's really, in a little nutshell, what this film is about. It's a young girl listening to her playlist while she takes a shower. And then we have all of these flashbacks. And one of the flashbacks is a suicide attempt. And so what's been really magical, I feel, about this piece, first of all, it's an entire youth cast. I cast only youth, and of course I had the parents helped, and they became sponsors to make it happen. Her mom Tanya is the executive producer, but every time we've played the film, people want to talk about it, which is such a huge blessing. And last, wait, oh gosh, I forgot what year it was. I'm so sorry. In February, we got accepted into a film festival in we got to screen Stronger by This at the TCL Chinese Theaters on Hollywood Boulevard, which was amazing for these young actors and aspiring, advocates. And every single person that was involved in this project felt very, very passionate about the topic of suicide. And then we ended up winning 2 awards from the Worldwide Women's Film Festival.
Congrats.
And now thank you. I'm just like, wow, like, I feel blessed to even be asked to do it. And the more attention something gets, it's not about getting attention because I want attention or Faith wants attention, but the more attention that something gets, the more people have an opportunity to start one of the most difficult conversations that we can have, which is about suicide. And that, suicide in our youth, suicide ideations. It's about starting a conversation, and it has impacted so many people just by Faith standing up and talking and, sharing her heart and inspiring people. So, yeah.
So what I was going to add to that is that, first off, I hope to see it. I definitely hope to see it because I've been affected by suicide in my life personally. One time in the late 90s, one time in the early 2000s, and blah, blah, blah. We all at least know someone who knows someone who's been affected, right? And so I think the more we bring it out of the shadows and make it less taboo, the more it becomes a regular conversation, and the more we're able to say, like, hey, it's okay to talk about this, because you're probably not the only one, and it's just okay to talk about it, and it's okay to talk to somebody if you do need to talk to somebody. The more of that I think we have, the better. And in this case, obviously, you ladies did it in the form of you said a 12-minute short film, right?
Yeah, it's a 12-minute narrative short. Yeah.
And I think that when you demystify the topic and you just take it head on and you kind of help people understand that it is okay to talk about it, then that opens up a whole new space. And it brings it, because I remember, like, when I was in high school in the 90s, I mean, it was like, it was like a thing that you don't really talk, like, it was there, but you just kind of don't mention, like, okay, that happened, that was sad, and that's it. When really that's not it. There's so much more to it that needs to be done and it needs to be talked about. So kudos to you ladies for doing this.
Thank you so much. I mean, I agree with you. There's a huge stigma around that conversation. There's a huge stigma around mental health in general. Mm-hmm. And, the more we talk about it, the less people feel like they're alone in their feeling. And, ultimately, that's what a lot of people are experiencing, something they're not able to, work through. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't know how to ask for help. They don't know they can ask for help. And they feel shameful and full of guilt, and they feel stupid, and they feel all of these, self-deprecating things that just add to the pile of what they're already feeling. So I applaud Faith for writing this story bravely to bring the topic to the forefront.
Especially, you said at 14 years old?
Yeah. Yep,
wow.
At 14 years old. Yep, at 14. And as a matter of fact, I was so inspired by her and all of these youth, because when we had the first screening, I did a big red carpet to do, because I feel like that's what you should do, especially for all the kids that are in this. And it was a sold out event, and at the event, the entire cast went up to the front, and we asked them individually to speak on if they had been impacted by suicide. And every single solitary one of those children up there on that panel had been impacted one way or another. And there were tears. I mean, we were crying. All of us were just in tears. And I thought, wow, and so that sort of inspired me to want to do that again. And so we didn't even talk about this, but I ran another contest. I actually ran a contest through my organization, the Just Be Loud Project. I ran a contest because I want to do it again. And so I was looking for another story. It didn't matter if you were a writer. I was just looking for the content of your true story that had a social awareness theme. And another, I got a panel of judges because I want everyone to win. I'm not, so I let other people decide that. But I'm doing it again. And another 14-year-old young woman won. And she's talking about her her experience of her mom having PTSD and complex trauma. And that's actually an amazing segue into the other project I'm working on. And interestingly enough, it wasn't planned that way. But,
So
yeah.
just so that it's clear to myself and then also the audience. So basically, you put out competitions for basically ideas or people to present. You know, like, hey, you know, I've got this thing, or what about this topic and whatnot. And then you kind of see what you can do from there, right? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah. Well, I ran one contest because Faith inspired this, so I'm going to do it every year. And essentially what I did was I put a call out for they had to be true stories, and they had to be, they had to have a social awareness aspect, right? So that, you know, all the tough topics that we don't talk about, everything that's taboo, everything that is dividing us as a country, as a nation, as society, as groups, you know, any topic. Anything, you can bring it to the board. And then I had judges vote and pick the one they felt like was, like, they felt they were all important, but they chose one story. And so I'll be doing it again next year. I'll be doing this again next year. So that will.
So that is now the box, right? As you said, you're about to
No,
segue. Oh no, it's not.
It's
Oh,
not.
okay. I'm sorry.
But yeah, no. I know I confused you because I just threw that in there out of nowhere. But it is a segue because the box is a documentary short that I'm working on that actually has the same topics from the, you know, not the same story, but the topics of PTSD, complex trauma, and DID, which is dissociative identity disorder, which is the new designation for multiple personality disorder. It's dissociative disorder.
Okay.
And so that's what the box is. That's a documentary short that I'm in. I just wrapped filming, and I'm in post-production now. And I actually brought on another producer to help me because this content is so important. I feel it's so important. I just needed fresh eyes because I was becoming emotionally attached to these interviews. And so I needed someone that wouldn't be a yes person. And so that's what the box is. Do you want me to tell you what the box is about?
Only if you want to, only if you're ready to talk about it. But yeah, I mean, I would love to hear about it.
I'm always ready to talk about, you know, I just want to tell you, thank you for letting me come onto your Filmspiration.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when we're filmmakers, like, sometimes I feel like people's eyes glaze over because that's all I want to talk about. So it's amazing to be able to come and have a conversation where you want to talk about this stuff. So I just wanted to take a minute and tell you thank you. I'm really grateful for that opportunity.
No, you're very welcome, and I'm always happy to open up this space, Ann. And sometimes, you know, as I'm thinking, like, okay, well, who out there is doing something that, like, is like, who's, first of all, something, period, and then secondly, like, I've been wanting to talk to you forever because of how much you have going on, and I've always wanted to understand, like, you know, what you have going on, the multiple things you have going on, and so I'm really happy that you gave me this opportunity. And you know, that's what Filmspiration is all about. Filmspiration is very much about, you know, not just the actual you know, main content, whether it be a short film or a feature film, narrative, doc, whatever that may be, not just that main content, but also the story behind the story. I mean, because you know, at work, I work in the news industry, so you know, I love to hear the stories that people verbally lay out for me, and then on top of that, you know, if you take a look at the early 2000s with DVDs, they had the behind the scenes stuff and maybe an interview with, like, you know, an actor, and you're just like, ooh, because I think we as human beings want to know the story behind the stories, and we want to know a little bit more and a little bit more, and that's exactly why, I mean, to bring it into an office context, that's exactly why people gather around the water cooler, because people want, you know, people want the goods. They want to know a little bit more about X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And so, that's what I love to do here on Filmspiration, is I love to talk about the stories behind the stories and the people behind those stories. In this case, yourself. In this case, the young ladies that you're talking about. So, but I'll cut myself off right there. And so go ahead and talk to us about the box. What it is, how it came about, etc.
Well, I just want to take a little side note about what you said about the water cooler. Standing around the water cooler. I mean, essentially, I feel like that's what having the tough conversations really is about, because we as a society, we have more and more and more reasons to be disconnected from one another. And right, we have electronics, we have I mean, I don't like to be political. I like to, I call it social awareness, because for me, I'm trying to find that place where we all connect. And that place where we all connect as human beings, where we all connect as human beings, is that continuum of feelings that we have. And however you get to those feelings is what is interesting to me, right? So joy is joy, pain is pain, trauma is trauma, but the stories behind how you got there, to me, that creates connection. And so that's what I feel like the water cooler is, but that's just a tangent, behind why I do all this stuff. But the box, this woman named Maddie Caballo came to me. We were friends, we were acquaintances, and then we were friends, and we had already known of one another. But she came to me. I felt really, really honored that she came to me, actually, because I feel like this is a huge divine assignment that I'm going, okay, you think that I can handle this? But essentially, Maddie experienced a huge, she experiences complex trauma, complex PTSD, and DID. And what there's a lot of stigma around those things, and what people don't understand is how people come to those things. People don't understand the difference between trauma and complex trauma, or PTSD and complex PTSD, or even DID. Like, everyone thinks that dissociative identity disorder is this, like, the Sybil show, or Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and this idea of you're going to switch into a personality and one of them's going to murder everyone. It's so much more of an intelligent response to outside horrible things that are happening. But Maddie was raised in a cult, and she experienced satanic, ritualistic abuse of every kind you can possibly imagine. And one of her therapists refers to that as, she said, Maddie had experienced a Holocaust level abuse. And as I began to learn more, I understand that I wouldn't call it anything else. She absolutely did. However, the interesting thing about this story is Maddie came to me and said, I don't want to tell my story. I want to talk about the journey of healing, and I want to educate people about these topics, the ones I mentioned before, these mental health topics. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And so I took the challenge, because I feel really strongly about all of these things. And it's a short film. She's writing a book, and she's a speaker. And so her intent, the reason it's a short film, we have so much content, we could definitely be a feature film. But right now I'm focused, it's going to be 40 minutes. So we're going to have a 40-minute short film that she can play while she's on the road doing her thing. But I also came on as a producer, so I also have rights to it, and I can also do what I want to with it. That's the contract we wrote up. And so I can do things through, like I did with Stronger by This, where I can have a panel and an event. But I interviewed several. I have 6 interviews, including Maddie, and all of them are individuals that helped her along her journey, her 30 years of therapy that she's been in. But this is really a story of education and inspiration, because when you see how she's thriving and she's happy and she knows how to have joy, and you know, she'll inspire, she helps everyone she comes across. She's helped me. I'm a changed person. I've been working on this for 5 months, and I can tell you I am a completely different person because of Maddie. I had to expand my knowledge so that I could honor this story. But that's what it is. It's a story of inspiration. It's not a story of horror, although it is kind of a horror story, because these things are happening in our world.
In the path of healing, I think one of the things that caught my attention when you said that in the path of healing is, I'm pretty sure, you know, when the film plays at festivals or at, you know, just gatherings, if you do them, you know, public gatherings, or I'm sorry, public screenings of the film and whatnot, there's going to be somebody, if not multiple somebodies, that are going to come forward and say, hey, you know, something kind of happened to me. Is there somebody that I can talk to? And maybe there's somebody out there that might be looking for resources or where to go, or maybe just somebody to be able to open up to. Um, in cases like this with social awareness filmmaking, do you guys offer any sort of like resources, or at least a phone number to direct somebody to, or maybe somebody who can help the person
Yes.
who? Yeah, talk to me about that, because I
Yeah.
think that that's fascinating, to be able to use film as a
Mm-hmm.
gathering point to do good and be able to help somebody else to the next level of wherever they need to go.
Yeah. Well, besides like a list of resources, right, which we easily will provide, can provide, and will be in the film itself, what we are providing, I don't think people realize the options that they have for healing. And so, since we're talking about Maddie and how Maddie went through healing, we're talking about different ways that she, like, it's sort of interesting. This is part of the reason why she chose me, is because it's very Western medicine, but it's also very open-minded with some holistic, sort of like goes a little holistic and Western. And what I find fascinating about these brilliant, brilliant women therapists that I interviewed, like, I learned so much, and I was blown away at how the edges are a lot blurrier than we. I mean, there's even division in healing, for Pete's sake, right? Everyone's
Right.
arguing about what's the right way and what's the wrong way. But there is no right way and wrong way. There's your way. And this is about learning your way to heal and finding your path to heal and finding the things that work for you. And I think that sometimes it may not even occur to us that we have all of these options, you know? So we're talking about traditional talk therapy, but we're also talking about equine therapy. We're talking about EMDR. We're talking about yoga therapy, and we're talking about art therapy. And a couple of those people are like, yeah, yoga therapy? How does that help? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
We're going to show you how it helps. And I really think it doesn't have to change your mind, but I think that you might take pause and think, wow, I never thought of it that way.
And I think that that actually segues into the next thing I was going to say to that, in that I'm always blown away in situations like this where you know that there's something that you don't know, but you don't know that exactly what it is that you don't know. And
Yep.
so, you know, with regards to me,
Yep.
as we were talking about like earlier, like I do a little investing, but the thing is that before I even stepped into all of that, I knew nothing, but I also knew that there was a lot that I didn't know, and I didn't know what I didn't know, and that kind of, so I'm always fascinated by the opening of the mind in these cases where you have, in this case, an audience who watches a film, and all of a sudden they realize that they didn't know what they didn't know about all these different, you know, in this case, like you said, all these different forms of therapy and these different types of therapy that, you know, more than likely a lot of people are not super familiar with or familiar with
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the metaphor of the title. So the title is The Box Out of the Impossible. And where
Oh,
that
okay,
came,
yeah.
right? And where
Hmm.
that came from was her literal experience of being put in a box in the ground as punishment, which is difficult for people to hear. I mean, I know when I heard it, I really had a visceral response, and I was like, I can't even tell you what I was thinking in my head. But I pulled back, and how I saw it was metaphoric as well as literal.
Yeah.
And so I really have taken the approach, like I've done reenactments, right? But these reenactments are metaphorical. I wouldn't do anything that was a literal reenactment. I'm against that in my film. Like, I say my film, it's Maddie's film, it's our film, right? But I'm against making that decision because I feel like how I did it was just create metaphorical imagery and metaphorical ideas. Because think about healing. We're inviting you to think outside of the box, right? And, you know, talking to Maddie, I'm asking her about being in the box, escaping the box, standing on the box and finding her voice, standing on a soapbox and screaming to the world, you know, these things are happening, please listen, finding her empowerment. And as soon as she said that, I mean, I think in metaphors anyway. I see metaphorically anyway. That's just how I understand the world. And so that's what we're doing. And, you know, what's interesting, I didn't know any, like all these people that I interviewed, I didn't know what I was getting into. I just said yes. And now that I've interviewed all these people, each and every single one of them, like myself, they said, Maddie required me to think outside of the box of the education I have and the way I take approach. I had to find a bigger, broader way to, every person had to better themselves and refine and define their approach so that they could serve Maddie. So what she went through is so unrelatable, right? No one can, I mean, actually some people can relate. That's a side story, but it's, you know, to most people are like, oh my gosh, I don't even like, you know, we get claustrophobic and we don't even want to think about, we can't, it's almost like, well, this is what happens. We ourselves disassociate from the story because we don't want to hear it. We can't hear it. We can't fathom it. We don't want to digest it. We don't want to know, right? That's typically what we do. And, right? I mean,
Yeah. A lot of people do. You know, in my personal life, I know a few people that they block out the unpleasant things, and so it's just like, oh, I don't want to have to like, you know, I don't want to deal with that topic, or I don't want, or at least, you know, they'll sit right in front of a documentary or whatnot, but you know, it's like you kind of see this body language. Okay, I saw it. That was nice. I'm gonna go to the mall. But you know, like there is that need to disassociate, I guess, because it's something that most people cannot associate to, and you know, I understandably so, I guess. But I mean, kudos to the people who do open up. Now, from a technical aspect, Anne, a thing I wanted to ask you: how good does it feel to, you know, because like everyone's not a filmmaker, a documentarian, so not everyone knows the technical side of, okay, this is how you film people, then organize these people, then structure up the story and whatnot. So to take all the different elements and the moving parts and give it organization and structure to people that, you know, when you're not a filmmaker, it's not your job to know how to do these things. That's got to be very satisfying to be able to give structure to such a deep topic to people who, you know, who, when you're not, again, when you're not a filmmaker, it's not your job to know how to do this anyway. So that has to be very satisfying to be able to sit back and say, okay, we told this thing, we gave it form and structure. Like how satisfying is that?
it's like I am completely in the thick of it right now. That's exactly what I meant
Okay.
in post-production. And it's, for me, it's extremely satisfying. Like, as I was listening to you talk, I thought, isn't it interesting? I'm taking all of this information and compartmentalizing it, essentially putting these bits into little boxes that I can organize so that we can understand what's being talked about here, right? I use, like, I'm a creative, I'm an artist, but there's also a very analytical side of me. I kind of use both ways of thinking in a lot of things I do, which is why I drive myself crazy, because I ruminate and holy cow, I get on the hamster wheel and I analyze, and and then sometimes I just have to like go do something crazy that has nothing to do with any of that. But I actually love that part of my brain, because that part of my brain has helped me to be able to show up for what Maddie is asking me to do. That part of my brain is like, it's so satisfying. Like this, like I said, this has changed my life. This has changed my life. This is what I want to do. And I, as an indie filmmaker, we typically have a full-time job, and then we do indie film on the side, right? And I've been doing that for a while and learning and working with as many people as I can to learn. And I'm always, trying to grow myself. And I recently flipped the switch, and I'm focusing fully on film, and I only want to do things that are around the arena of film, photography, video production, and graphics. I'm kind of doing it that way. But what's interesting about this for me and my experience, I don't know if this is interesting for anyone else, but so I used to paint, and I used multimedia items to paint. I mean, I still could. I just found new joy in painting a different way, through editing.
Yeah.
And you understand what I'm saying? And so essentially, I am extremely satisfied that it's like I've gone to the art store and I like got all of these supplies that are mind-blowing, some things I didn't even know existed. And now I'm sitting here looking at them, and I'm talking about, look at all these art supplies, right? And I'm moved by them. And the human part of me, that's what I was talking about earlier. I needed help. I felt like I went down this rabbit hole, help, because this is like so much to compact into such a 40-minute piece.
Yeah.
Eventually I'll do a director's cut, which will be longer. But Maddie hired me, and I am all about, it's not about what I want. It's about honoring Maddie. This is for Maddie. So it's a challenge, and I love a challenge. I love adventure. I love a challenge. I love things that make me feel uncomfortable. I love things that make my brain blow up and expand, and that's everything that I'm doing right now.
Well, God bless you for taking these stories on, because I mean, I know a lot of filmmakers. The preference, and not that there's anything wrong with them, but like the preference is westerns, zombies, post-apocalyptic. You know what I mean? And so, again, nothing that anything's wrong with those genres, but to be able to tackle these life hard truths and hard stories that need to be told, and you taking them on. I see two sides here. Number one, the emotional aspect that you have to challenge and streamline and summarize to bring together. And then there's the other part, which is the technical. How do you do that? Especially when you probably have a whole lot more footage and interviews than you probably need, which is why you said you want to come up with a director's cut. But then to be able to balance the both, I mean, God bless you for doing that, Ann, because I mean, I don't know.
Thank you for that.
I don't know if I could do that. Like, more, not so much for the technical side, but more for the emotional side. But that's why I asked you what I asked you on the technical side, because to be able to, like, when you're a non-filmmaker, like, you might have a vision, but if you're not on the technical side, how do you know to even bring that to, like, how to bring the technical side together? So
yeah.
So that's got to be rewarding when you are able to basically give shape and form to a topic and an issue in a narrative or documentary fashion,
Yeah.
And especially for a person or an individual or a group of people who want a message told, who want a story told, and
Yeah.
especially ones as important as these. And so um, that's
Mm.
pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
And to be very honest with you, like, here in this interview, as you tell me about like the what sounds like, the heavy emotional side of the whole process, I just think about, all of the things that I could bring to the table if I was as courageous as you to do docs, because, of women in my life who, if not sexual molestation, then rape or suicide or, quite the variety of topics. Um,
Hmm.
but I'm not as brave as you yet. And so
Oh, yes, you are. Yes, you
I
are.
I could probably do it, but but not brave enough to maybe venture down that. Maybe later, you know what I mean? Because I have been asked, like, Edgar, you work in news, like, do you ever want to do documentaries? And my 2 cents on that, I say very respectfully that because of the day job, I probably stay away from documentaries to kind of craft my, because there's a difference between, like, a documentary that's going to tackle a hard issue like this versus the well-structured. Not that to say that documentaries aren't well structured or cannot be, but I'm just saying, like, a well structured thriller like The Sixth Sense. You know what I mean? And so I'm
Yeah.
fascinated by that type of a structure. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
Yeah.
that basically, to do the technical and then the emotional. And
Yeah.
God bless you, because, like, I'll tell you right now, I'll be very flat out with you. Like, I can't do that, at least yet. And so kudos to you.
I mean, that's a whole lot of kindness. I really, really appreciate that you just threw my way. I love everything you said so much. Like it feels good in my heart. And so this is what I want to say to that, right? First of all, you are like, it's not, it's your medicine. You have a medicine and I have a medicine, and you're following what is right for you. Like the
Yeah.
reason I connected with you to begin with was bottom line because of the types of films that you were doing, because you're
Yeah.
bringing conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like what
Yeah.
types of, right? You have theme, you have a voice in something you're doing, and that's why I even connected in the beginning with you at all, because that speaks to me. It's like if we just
Thank
take
you,
one
Ann.
thing, yeah, I mean, thank you. that that's just how I feel. And I worked so long with individuals one-on-one, and when I was an instructor is really where I got a huge education as an instructor, working with individuals that were going through so much, and I got to witness them find their power and go through transformation, transmute old ideas into valuable things that they could do into the world. Like that's what I got to do, and that's what I still do. And I say I got to do because it's the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts. I love them. I'm still involved with them. I've just picked up a camera and started to record that in essence. And so for me, I am an emotional being. I'm sure it's all over my sleeve, right? I'm emotionally driven. And so everything I do is emotionally driven. But if I can't do it, I am not afraid to say, anyone that knows me will tell you, I will say, I don't know how to do this. I'll find someone that will help. And so a lot of like, even I can run a camera, but I hired amazing DP to film. And I said, I want beautiful imagery. And she said, I'll do it. And so, I was really able to think through. I think like in this project is probably one of the most organized things I've done in all of my film, because in indie filmmaking, you wear 17,000 hats. Let's just be frank,
Yep.
right? I mean,
Yep.
you're everything. And so I feel really blessed to have this crew, and the young actress that played young Maddie, the adult actress that played adult Maddie, Shannon Dia, who is my director of photographer, brought her like Kevin Phipps, who's her boyfriend, he came and he just helped. And he's this amazing director that's doing amazing things in the world. And he came and helped on the set because everyone wants to get this message out, right? And I had my son-in-law built the prop that we used. And then my son actually did the artwork on the prop. And so, what I can't do, I just ask for help. And in essence, that's what I'm saying with this film. What you can't do, you just ask for help. And here are things that you can do. And so when I became aware of the fact that there are other people doing this besides me and I can ask them, then I just ask for help, And I actually have a lot of amazing people that are even joining now, because I'm blessed to have some really great favors to pull, because I've done some things for, we kind of trade. You do something for them, they do something for you. And so I'm pulling out my favors for this particular film.
Cool. And now let me ask you another question, going a little bit more into the side of still having to do with self-care and wellness, but this is more on the filmmaker side, and I really do always love to tap into the brains of the filmmakers. That whenever I can whenever I can ask this question, and I love to ask this question because it's a topic that it is near and dear to my heart. The older I get, the topic is happiness. The topic is happiness, and here's where I'm going with this. Simply put, question form. Would you be happy if you were not making films? Would you be whole and complete if you were not making films? And what do you say to the filmmakers out there who are overthinking it, saying, well, one day I'll make a film, or I'm still writing on my script like 7 years later, or, what do you say to those people versus, with regards to the doing that I know makes you happy and is your medicine, as you said earlier? I really like that, by the way. And then what do you say to those people who are maybe overthinking it, or even question, can I do this? Can I be a filmmaker? First part. Could you be happy if you were not doing this?
Gosh, right now? Well, yes. I feel very happy. I've done a lot of my internal work. I'm obnoxiously self-aware. And so that informs my joy and my happiness in the world. I cultivate peace. I am a very peaceful being because I've been through a lot of chaotic things in my life. And I just want peace. And so that groundedness and peace and doing my work allows me to do this. And I can't actually see my life without doing this. Like, I feel like I've been doing aspects of this my whole life. I feel like I've been collecting ingredients to get to this point. And so I do feel I'm on path. This is what I'm supposed to do. Would I feel joy without it? I'd be bummed if I didn't get to do this. But, I'd probably come up with another way to make an impact. Because when I say make an impact, I mean one-on-one, 10-on-1. You know what I mean? Like face-to-face connection. Things like this conversation. I mean, we're not face-to-face, but we're talking. We're interacting, right? This is and then when I see you in person, we're like, hey, right? We've connected. We take the time to connect.
And thank you for coming out to the screening. When it was like 2 years ago, back in 2018 or 2016 or 2017. I'm sorry. Yeah, you came on out to Tucson. I'll never forget that. Thank you so much, Ann. I appreciate that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's because I support what you do. Like, it's in alignment with me. Not that other people aren't, but yeah. Did I answer your question? Because I'm a talker. In case you didn't I like to talk. So yeah, just kind of like I go on tangents. So
the reason why I bring this up is because I see so many filmmakers that are unhappy and for a variety of reasons too. And so it's either like I've heard everything from this speaks more towards the mental and emotional health and well-being of filmmakers specifically. But I've heard things from like can I or should I or could I be a filmmaker? Could I do what you do, Edgar? My answer is of course you can, but it's been a journey of like literally as of 2019, 25 years since I started picking up my dad's Panasonic camera in 1994. And so I also hear, things like, well, I can't make this short film until I have $20,000
Yep.
or until I have this camera and these lenses. And I'm just like, all right, you're starting to put obstacles in front of yourself, and you yourself are doing that. When
Yep.
my 2 cents is, grab any camera that's up to standard, even a cell
Mm-hmm.
phone, and run out there and do it. And well,
Mm-hmm.
what if my movie sucks? Well, my 2 cents is, if your movie sucks, that's awesome,
Mm-hmm.
because you will have taught yourself what doesn't work. That way, in the
Mm-hmm.
next film, you know what does work. And so I just see such a colossal emotional range of emotional health among the creative community.
Yeah.
For the most part in the middle, but you do have your certain people that are all over the place. And I do try to take note of that and be there for those individuals in particular. And so that's why I wanted to ask you,
Yeah.
what do you say to those people with regards to that happiness? Because in my personal journey, so I can, flap on a little bit more.
Yes.
In my personal journey, it's been, okay, I've always done the filmmaking thing, right? And then I got into TV, but I'm going to try to be a lawyer. Not for me. I'm going to try medicine. Not for me. Back in '05 when the market was hot, I'm going to try to sell houses. Not, so like a pinball, you bing, 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 bing all over the place and discover what doesn't make you happy. And the thing that I've always, at least in my personal journey, I've always discovered, okay, this is the thing I've always gone back to that does make me happy. And so
Mm-hmm.
to those filmmakers out there, I mean, what do you say to those who are maybe just a little
Mm-hmm.
lost, or maybe just a little emotionally or directionally unfocused? Because
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, and you throw your sense in there too, and I'm gonna do this, like, I'll always have like a day job, or hope, but the thing is that, like, come what may, like, in some way, shape, or form, I will do filmmaking till the day I die. And I
Yep.
understand when you have like those great filmmakers, oh, he had projects to the very end and up until when he died. I kind of understand why.
Yep.
And so, what he's, so I'm sorry, I will
Yes.
be quiet now, but what do you say to those
No.
those filmmakers in those cases?
My gosh, this is a discussion. I'm so happy to hear you talking. Um, yeah, this is. I have a lot to say. I always have a lot to say, but so I'll speak of my own experience, and maybe that'll resonate. So something about me is I am not afraid to be new. And so you can't learn anything or start anything or do anything without being new. You have to be new at some point. And for some reason we're embarrassed to be new, right? But I just do it. And that's what I say. Just do it. Not someday. Now is someday.
Yeah,
Now is someday. Like now is, if you want to do it. Just jump. Pick up your cell phone. Got a cell phone? Do something with it. Just start. And that's just, that's one thing about me is I'm not afraid to be new, because I'm not afraid to look like a ding dong,
hmm,
right? Because that's other people's opinions. I know what my focus is, and I know what I'm trying to accomplish. So if you think I'm full of it, you don't like what I'm doing, you think it's crap, you think my message is cockeyed, thank you, but I'm going to keep going,
yeah,
right? Because I know I'm in alignment. But for me, like that's what I would tell filmmakers and anyone. The message is, it's much broader than just filmmakers. It's all of us. Why do you have things on the back burner?
hmm,
If you throw them away, take them off the shelf and take them off the back burner and throw them away, or do them.
yeah,
Stop collecting possibility and actualize it.
very true.
Just jump, do it. Ask your friends. you know I didn't have any money. I didn't have money to make film. And film can take money. But when I was just talking about those favors, I'm pulling favors because so this is what I do. accept projects or I get involved with things, and these are my two decision makers. It either grows me or it pays me. So, right? So if it's not going to pay me, but
I like that. I like
it's
that.
going to grow my knowledge, it's going to grow my connections, it's going to grow my expertise, it's going to change my lens of perception, then I'll go all in. If it's in alignment, if it's something in alignment with me, you know? But listen, our number one block to doing these things that we want to do is us.
Yeah.
We. Like, that's the, you know, that's the thing. We get in our own way. We block ourselves. And really that comes from our hardwiring. It goes right to the hardwiring of when our brains were developing and the experiences that we went through when our brains were developing. And those are the fears and shames and guilts and not enoughness that we bring forward and apply it as an adult, whether it's conscious or subconscious.
And I think I love that, and just to go off of that a little bit, and just to kind of springboard off of that, and I think we also have to think as filmmakers, we also have to think about, you know, or more you know, the people who are just thinking about stepping into this or just stepping into this. There's a collision, and I like to do this thing with my fist. There's a collision of the reality versus the expectation, the romanticized, often romanticized expectation of what filmmaking is or should be, very much based upon and heavily predicated upon other people's opinions. And so, let me give you an example. Kind of goes back to this. Well, I can't do that short film until I have $30,000 or an Alexa camera or whatever other fancy schmancy camera. I can't do this short film until I have Tom Cruise in my movie. And you know, it's just like who put that into your head? You know, whose blessing are you trying to go after that you feel that until you have that blessing that you can't do anything? One time out at the National Association of Latino Independent Producers, I met two young men from the Arizona film scene, and they, you know, of course, you know, as filmmakers, we all do the whole like, oh yeah, well, what if, you know, what have you done? Oh, I make documentaries or I make features, etc. Right? In a very polite way, a lot of times we're basically kind of seeing like, okay, who am I talking to? Who's standing right in front of me? So, you know, myself and another friend at the time, you know, he's able to say he's got 2 features under his belt, a whole bunch of projects. I've got a whole bunch of shorts, 1 feature, and at the time, and their mouths just dropped open, and we're like, "What's the matter? Are you okay?" And they're like, "Well, that's amazing." Very, very, very weird compliment because, is that a cat? Is that your cat?
Sorry. It's
What a
Philip.
cutie! Oh, what a cutie! And I heard he meowed and everything. So, you know, these 2 gentlemen said, well, you know, one of them said, we understand that in order to make a short film, you have to have $15,000. And you have, you know, of course, they rattled off, you know, cameras, lenses, and I'm just like a big piece of my heart just broke because I just want to say, like, who put that into your mind? Like, I have made films with $300. I've made films with less than that, and so my two cents is what is the romanticism versus the reality that you want to work upon, and where's that middle ground, and where do you see yourself? Because I mean, as compared to the 1990s, if you were to tell me, okay, I've got a device like right here in my other phone, right, where we can record videos, do social media, talk, text, communication, what we're doing right now, and then uploading, creating, editing, sharing that, and if you were to tell me this in 1994, I couldn't even begin to wrap my head around everything you're even talking about. It's right here. It's right here, and if at the very least, if you're low income, people have a smartphone, and so it's totally possible. And so it just goes back to what you just said. Just do it, because there's never going to be a perfect amount of money, the perfect gear. You know, 6 months go by, and all of a sudden there's a new camera, and so it breaks my heart that people base so much of that, or whether or not they're going to jump into filmmaking or move forward
Mm-hmm.
on a lot of these things. And then on
Yep.
top of that, I think a lot of times what comes into play of why certain people will put these certain obstacles in front of themselves is heavily predicated on insecurities or maybe ego. Like, I don't feel like I'm a big time filmmaker unless we have this on set, or it's just like, get out of here with
Mm-hmm.
that. Like,
Yep.
my 2 cents is, if you roll up your sleeves, right, and you're a practitioner, obviously you are, Ann,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're telling me, if you're telling us, the audience, that you just want to dive in full force, and even if you make a movie that you look back on, you're just like, like, I've made a lot of crap films, but the
Yep.
thing is that they've only made me stronger. And so if you can
Yep.
understand that the more you keep on doing it, the more you keep getting your hands dirty, the stronger you get as a filmmaker, then you don't have to worry about ego and insecurity playing a
Mm-hmm.
role in the whole process. Like, you just get all of that crap off the table
Yeah.
and just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. And
Like,
so that's my
do
two
it.
cents on that.
Just do it. I mean, you have to exercise the muscle,
Yes.
right? So you go to the gym and you want to work. You don't walk into the gym all ripped. Like, it
Nope.
just takes. You
Nope.
got to pick up some weights, right? And then suddenly you realize, like, okay, these bicep curls, these work for me, but I don't really like this backwards thing. I'm not going to do that, right? And you only discover that when you just do it. I made my first documentary. I edited.
Hey, Ann, if you can hear me, I think you're starting to freeze up, or our signal's going out for some reason, or maybe it's on my end. Okay. Well, Filmspiration Nation, we lost Ann, unfortunately, and damn, to get even better, we're gonna go to another level. Facebook just kicked her off, as you guys can see. So, Ann, that was Ann Cabano. Thank you so much for being on, Ann. I really do appreciate it. Woman of many talents. That's so awesome to see somebody who just rolls up their sleeves and says, F it, I'm just going to jump in, do my thing. And especially to tell the stories that she's telling. Again, I am far from being able to do that, to do the stories and to tell the stories that she tells. So, and I greatly appreciate you for that, and for, again, to go off of the last part that we were talking about, to always roll up your sleeves and become a stronger filmmaker for the people that come to you with these very specific stories, who are looking for a very specific voice and a very specific message to be told through your technical and thematic talents. So, and that is awesome. Thank you so much. And everyone, I know that Ann would be thanking you guys all, the audience, if she was still, if Facebook had not kicked her off. Oh, that's funny. That's kind of creepy, actually. It's not funny. Siri was just totally dictating everything I just said for about the past 90 seconds. And I put an end to that. I'm pretty sure Ann would say thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Ann, thank you so much for being on the show and, just talking to us about the box and Stronger by This. I look forward to seeing those two pieces. I really, really do. So, Ann, let us know, and we'd love to do a follow-up, Ann, whenever we can, on whenever you're going to be screening the film in Tucson. I do believe one of the two. I can't remember which one of the two. One of the two is going to be screening late July. You might want to get in touch with Ann Cabano, and I will put the information, which I will ask Ann for, in the description of the video here in YouTube. And yeah, get in touch and check out what Ann is doing, and try to reach out to her. I will get her contact information again in the description of the video. She's been in the hustle for a while, from what I understand, and I admire that. And so, to be able to talk to someone like you, Ann, and to just have you share, the nuggets of information, and just what you have to say, it's beyond valuable. Like, beyond film school valuable. Like, that's, no offense to film schools, but I'm just saying, like, you don't get this type of education in a film school by, from someone like Ann, who just jumps in and does it. I totally respect that. Everyone, thank you so much for hanging out. I really do hope that you enjoyed our time with
writer, director, cameraman, or camerawoman, and editor, Ann Cabano, director, woman of many more talents that I know I'm probably screwing up on and missing. But thank you so much for always tuning in. I really do appreciate it. The Instagrams, the Twitters, bam, right below. Thank you so much. And subscribers on YouTube, new subscribers, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I love you. I do see when you do subscribe. Trust me, those numbers are there, and they're not there for no reason. I do see. Thank you so much for jumping aboard, especially when you don't have to. No one makes you. I do appreciate it, and I love each and every single one of you guys and gals. Run out there, do your thing, tell your stories. If you're a filmmaker, maybe you're not a filmmaker, whatever your thing is, figure out how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, get on the Googs and then figure out how to do it. There are articles, or if you're a visual learner, there's the YouTubes. Do your thing. Run out there, do your thing like Ann. Do your thing like myself. No excuses. You got one of these things called a little smartphone. Bam, you got the world at your fingertips, like literally in your hand right there. That's it, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. And one more time, thank you so much. Can't say thank you enough times. Want to do a follow-up with you, okay? Because I don't want to have you the cell phone signal just kind of cut you off dry like that. Want to do a follow-up, and thank you so much. I really do appreciate it, everyone. This has been Filmspiration. My name is writer director Edgar Ibarra. Love you. Adios. See you in the next one. Bye.